Okay, we're gonna start today on Daf Nun Amud Aleph. It's towards the bottom of the page. There's two dots. Reb Shimon Aimer Chulu. We thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. By learning, we should have some English immediately. And let's learn in the Chossav for everyone that needs, and also hostages in Eretz Yisrael. Everything should be safe. Reb Shimon Aimer. Okay, you see this, Reb Shimon Aimer? Yesterday, what we did was we introduced the machlekes between Reb Shimon, the Tanna Kama and Reb Shimon regarding the severity of the four capital punishments. He said, according to the Tanna Kama, the Chachamim, according to the sages, stoning is stricter than burning. According to Reb Shimon, burning is stricter than stoning. Okay, they flip that. There is another machlekes also regarding hereg and chenek, which we'll get to. According to the sages, hereg is stricter than chenek, and according to Reb Shimon, chenek is stricter than hereg. Chenek is strangulation, hereg is the sword. So there's two machlekes in here. Right now we're discussing the sreifa being stricter, according to Reb Shimon, than stoning. Burning is stricter than stoning. So last night we went through, according to the sages, how stoning is stricter than all the other ones. Each one, stoning was stricter than each of them. Okay. Now, we take Reb Shimon's view, and we got to go through this. It's going to be similar to what we did yesterday, just in Reb Shimon's opinion. There are some differences. Okay. So Reb Shimon says Sreifa Chamura Miskil. According to Reb Shimon, Sreifa, being burnt as a capital punishment, is stricter than being stoned as a capital punishment. Now, the difference the Gemara is going to tell us at the end is that if someone violates two prohibitions, then he gets two capital punishments, right? Two death sentences. So we always carry out the more stricter one. So which one would we carry out? So that's going to be a machlekes. Okay, now Reb Shimon holds that Sreifa is stricter, burning is stricter than stoning. The way that we see this is because such a severe prohibition of a daughter of a Kohen that commits adultery, she gets the punishment of Sreifa, stricter than everyone else. So obviously, that's the more harsh punishment. So my chumrah, why is it so harsh? She came mechalel sasavia because she profanes her, she degrades her father's house. People say, like, cursed is the one that gave birth to a child like that. Okay. Adrabah, the Gemara says on the contrary. Maybe skila chamura. Stoning should be stricter. Because someone that does these really bad things, like worshiping idols or cursing God, he gets stoning. The stoning should be the more severe punishment. My chumrah, why is that so strict? Because he's stretching out his hand in a basic tenet of our faith. Gemara says Reb Shimon Tamei. Reb Shimon follows his reasoning. The Amar, Reb Shimon holds achas arusa v'achas nesua beats in the straight. Remember we had a whiteboard.
Yeah,
We still have that. This one, if I show you on a board, this could clarify something very easily. Is there any eraser there? On the market? Let's see if I can get this clean. Yeah, maybe like just a little slightly damp tissue. Yeah, I don't know when we used this last. Has a Yavamas picture on it. Okay, let's try this. I don't know if that's gonna work. No, I need a soap or something. Okay, I'm gonna have to tell you because I'm not gonna be able to unless there's a paper somewhere. Is there a paper and instead of just the fancy? Actually, let me use the. Yeah, I just want to show you. It's actually a small detail, but yeah. Let me do this. Let's do Bas Kohen, Bas Yisrael. I'm going to do Arusa versus Nesua. Okay. So let's see if you can see this. Can you see that? What I put over here on the top is a Bas Kohen. There's a column with the Bas Kohen. And there's two options of Bas Kohen. She either commits adultery when she's in Arusa, or she commits adultery as a Nesua. Arusa is betrothed, or Nesua is when she's married. She's an Ashes Ish, a married woman. I know the halacha here we have a Bas Yisrael. By a Bas Yisrael, it's clear. What happens is if she's betrothed, she gets skila. If she's married, then she gets chenek. Okay, a Bas Kohen gets streifa if she's married. What about if she's an arusa? So yesterday we said that an arusa is skila according to the Rabbanan, but not according to Reb Shimon. According to Reb Shimon, she gets streifa over here. So that's what we're just introducing. Now this is important. So I know that this thing that I left blank for today, we have to add in streifa. Yesterday I would have made a different chart. Yesterday would have been, yesterday would have said skila. Yeah, I'll show you why this is. You see now the chart says streifa by the Bas Kohen. So it says like this. This is according to Reb Shimon Damar achas ruch v'achas nesua yitzis l'streifa. So take a look at this. Mida afkir rachman al arusa Bas Kohen mechlal arusa Bas Yisrael meskil l'streifa. Look at what you just did. If a Bas Kohen commits adultery, she gets streifa. If a Bas Yisrael commits adultery, she gets skila. Bas Kohen has to be worse. Must be that streifa is worse. Now, the Gemara later is going to tell me, well, how do you know that that's the halacha? We're going to have to go through that. But anyway, this is Reb Shimon's opinion. So if this is but that's based on this opinion, you see so clear. This is a clear proof to Reb Shimon. If we can prove this point, but once you prove this point, this is clear that streifa is stricter than skila. But the Bas Kohen gets it. It says mida afkir rachmana, since the Eibishter removes arusa Bas Kohen, michlal arusa Bas Yisrael, a betrothed daughter of a Kohen, from the category from the capital punishment that would happen if she would not be a Bas Kohen, if she would be a Bas Yisrael, miskil l'streifa, goes from being under the category of stoning to the category of burning. Shema mina streifa chamura. That's the basic point over here of this entire Gemara, is that because of this machlaikas, Reb Shimon sees clearly that streifa is stricter than skila, because the Bas Kohen is getting it instead of skila, if she would be a Bas Yisrael. Okay, now let's go to the next category. Remember what we did yesterday was we did how is skila stricter than streifa, how is skila stricter than hereg, how is skila stricter than chenek. So today we're doing how is streifa stricter than skila, how is streifa stricter than, we're going to start with chenek because Reb Shimon holds chenek, and then how is streifa stricter than hereg. There's another machlekes in there, hereg and chenek, which one's stricter? So it says streifa is chamura michenek. Streifa is stricter than chenek. Now, when I show you this chart, you're going to understand that this is an obvious answer. Why? How do we know this? We just concluded that streifa is stricter than skila because the Bas Kohen gets it. Has to be stricter. Well, guess what? Chenek versus chenek, the Bas Kohen get by the nesua. The Bas Kohen gets streifa instead of chenek. So we have our answer. When you look at the chart, it's already concluded.
Doesn't this like the one that we said this was like the worst because
it's machlekes. This is the other opinion. The opinion yesterday was skila was the worst.
Yeah, but we said like the worst of it was like idol worship and all these things.
And today we're going different. Today we're going different than that. We're ignoring that. Yeah, that's the other opinion. Okay, so let's take a look at Streifa Chamura Mechanik. Because we give Streifa to a daughter of a Kohen that commits adultery. My Chamura, why is that so strict? Kedamran, as we just said before. Very good. The Gemara said that. One second, but chenek has such a serious sin that's associated with chenek, and that sin is someone that injures his father or his mother. My chumrah, why is that so strict? Because honoring your father and mother is compared to honoring God. That's a very strict sin, and you get chenek for that. Must mean chenek is worse. Where it says no,
Yeah.
Sorry. Oh, 1 second. What happens if it's a nesua, a married woman? No, there's a regular Eishes Ish. If she would be a Bas Yisrael that she commits adultery, she would get chenek. But now that she's a Baskain, but if she's a Baskain, she gets Sreifa. So obviously Sreifa for the Baskain is stricter. Okay, so we have in that chart that we made, we have Sreifa stricter than Skila, and we have Sreifa stricter than Chenek. And now we have to go to the next category, Sreifa Chamura Misayef. How do you know that Sreifa burning is stricter than getting killed by the sword? Well, it's got to be strict, because a daughter of a Kohen that commits adultery gets Sreifa, she gets burned. My Chamura, why is that so strict? And as we explained, that she embarrasses her father's house. Other Abba, on the contrary, Sayef Chamer, getting killed by the sword should be the most severe. The city, the people that worship idols all get killed by the sword. That's a very strict. Why do you know? How do you know that that's so harsh? My Chumrah, because we see that we destroy their money also. We don't do that by other things. Must be a really strict sin, and they get Sayef. The Amrit, the Gemara says like this. 1 second. We already established that Sreifa is stricter than Skila and Chenek. We've already established that. Now let's take a look. Who's stricter? The people, the missionaries that get the city to worship idols, or the people in the city that worship idols? Who's stricter? Those missionaries, those people that seduce everyone. So what's their punishment? And now, yesterday we learned that their punishment was skila, right? Reb Shimon holds different. Reb Shimon holds that it's chenek. I would say that it's the missionaries. Okay, so kal v'chaimer. Now we have a kal v'chaimer. Ma chenek. If those missionaries get chenek, they get strangulation. Shechamer misayef, which is stricter than getting killed by the sword, which is by the people that were influenced, not the influencers, but the people that were influenced. They get killed by the sword. And what's the halacha? Sreifa chamur mimeno, getting burnt is stricter than chenek. How do we know that? Because the married Kohen girl daughter of a Kohen, gets sreifa instead of a Bas Yisrael that gets chenek. So if chenek is stricter, but sreifa is stricter than chenek, if chenek is stricter than sayef, and sreifa is stricter than chenek, and for sure sreifa is stricter than sayef.
More severe.
More severe. Sayef hakal, like Kolskin, so for sure, getting killed by the sword, for sure sreifa should be stricter.
Could it be a forward burning? We change it to burning because it's like a punishment. Since it was like on fire.
I think the basis of this Gemara is the pain that the person goes through when they're being punished. I think that's the basis of it. So what's more painful? I mean, no one comes back to tell us. So we're discussing: is it streifa? Is that the most painful? I mean, there's different pains here. There's getting burnt. They pour hot lead, or do they get him? They stone. They throw a rock. They throw him off a roof and a rock on him. Strangulation, or getting killed by the sword.
We keep bringing up the point of this boss Cohen, and then it's the only one that I've seen that is like they changed the punishment. So then the question is like, okay, why was it switched to burn? Was it because it's like like a fire thing.
Well,
She did.
no, because it's more strict. It's strict to burning. Because now the question is, in which case was it switched to burning? Machlekes Reb Shimon and the Rabbanan, which case that applies?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
It seems that everyone agrees that znus from a Bas Kohen is worse than the znus from a Bas Yisrael.
Right.
And it seems to say that they all seem to agree it's because there's more of a disrespect for parents by the Bas Kohen than a Bas Yisrael.
Right.
Is that right? Why is that?
I guess because the Cohen family is more prestigious.
Then that makes the
disgrace bigger.
So it's more of a disgrace to the parents by a Bas Kohen.
Yeah.
Social.
But according to Reb Shimon, the Nesua, Bas Kohen's Nesua, is stricter than an Arusa by Bas Yisrael. Because it's Streifa by the Bas Kohen Nesua and Skila by the Bas Yisrael Arusa.
Right.
And but we were saying before that you're not really embarrassing the house, right, of the person. Once the girl is married, it's not such an embarrassment.
Okay, so 1 second. Everyone holds that by the Nesua, it's Shrefa. The question is, what's by the Arusa? Is it Skila or
Streifa.
what's by the Arusa? Is it Skila or Shrefa? Yeah. So we were explaining that by the Arusa is more an embarrassment to the parents' house. So you're asking that according to Reb Shimon, according to everyone, according to Reb Shimon, it's clear that the severity is on the Arusa, which that's the embarrassment. The question would go the other way. According to the Rabbanan, where the embarrassment doesn't go on the parents' house and it's only by the Nesua, right? So why is it Streifa? I guess it must be that because the way the Gemara said yesterday, that because according to the Rabbanan, Skila is stricter than Streifa. So the Arusa gets the stricter one. Both of them, by the Arusa, both of them are embarrassing the parents. So both get the most strict according to the Rabbanan, which is Skila. The Nesua is still a little bit embarrassing the parent, but the Bas Kohen gets the worst one, which is Streifa versus Chenek. Yeah, that's what we would say.
Yeah.
Now, according to Reb Shimon, they're both getting Streifa. So for sure, the Arusa that gets the strictest one, and the Nesua also gets it.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
But it's funny today when we look at the mitzvah of Kivud Aim, it's specific, the halachas. Don't sit in your father's chair. Don't, they're very specific.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of a general mitzvah that, live the way your father thinks you should, or, I mean, it makes sense. I've just never seen anything like that.
It's coming out like what society demands is now going to go under kibbud avayim.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be wearing those leather jackets and chains, and because that's not kibbud avayim. It doesn't fit in the Yesharim. Okay.
I think it also aligns with Torah.
Oh, you think it has to do with not just society? It has to do with what the Torah. No, because we said because people are going to say, Orush is
here is society, but for example, if muscular non-kosher things like it's not okay with the parent, that's definitely not okay with Hashem.
Yeah.
But
we're going to see that that's true what you're saying. But there's another factor here. Okay, we're holding by Skila Chamura Mechanik. We're on page 50 B. 3 lines down. Skila. Now we left the category of streifa, which was the most strict according to Reb Shimon. Now we're in the second category of skila, which is second, and we know already that skila is secondary to streifa. Stoning is secondary to burning. Now we have to see what about skila to chenek, which was the third, according to Reb Shimon. Skila chamer mechenek shekinit l'megadef loivad avid's come. Skila is more strict than chenek, because skila is the punishment that's given to someone that worships idols or curses God. My chumrah, why is that so strict? Kedaman, as we said yesterday, that's taking away a basic premise of Judaism. It's idolatry. So the belief in Hashem is the premise, and this is taking it away. That's a very severe sin, and so the punishment for that is strict. Is going to be skila. Umar says, "Adarabba chenek chamer." We should say that chenek is more strict. Strangulation, because someone that injures his father and his mother get that, and that's very strict. My chomer, why is that so strict? The Gemara doesn't have the patience to spell it out, because it's compared to the honor of Hashem, honoring the father. Okay, so the Gemara answers this. We already went through this. That if an arusa, Bas Yisrael. We just take a look at it over here. We didn't do this side of the chart. An arusa Bas Yisrael. We were discussing the Kohen before, the Bas Kohen. Now let's go to the other side. Here, what this chart is a daughter of a Kohen commits adultery, a daughter of Yisrael commits adultery. And is she betrothed or is she married? So if she's betrothed, let's say the daughter of the Kohen, so she gets burnt. If she's married, she gets burnt. This here was a machlokes. Now let's go to the Bas Yisrael side. If she's a daughter of a Yisrael, so she gets skila. If she's a daughter, and if she's betrothed, and if she's married, she gets chenek. Now, which one is worse, married or betrothed? So we said betrothed is worse than married. That's a little counterintuitive, but the explanation for that was because she embarrasses her father more when she commits adultery when she's betrothed than when she's married. So, you see, betrothed is worse. Skila is worse than chenek. It's clear, simple as that. That was our question. Is skila worse than, is harsher than chenek? We say, yeah, for sure. Okay. Okay, now we're up to skila chamora misayef. Being stoned is worse than getting killed by the sword, because skila is given to someone that curses God or worships idols. The Gemara says, we should say that getting killed by the sword is more strict, because it's given to people that were in the city that was convinced to worship idols. Why is that so strict? Because you see over there, you even destroy their property. So obviously that's got to be really strict. The Gemara says, one second. We already went through this. What's stricter? The missionaries or the people that were convinced to worship idols? And what is the media? What do the missionaries get? What's their punishment? The people that convinced everyone else to worship idols, they get chenek according to Reb Shimon. So v'kal v'chaymer. If chenek, which is stricter than sayef, strangulation is stricter than the sword. Why? Because strangulation is given to the missionaries. The sword is given to the people that were influenced. And skila chamor mimeno, but being stoned is stricter than chenek. So sayef akal, like Olshkein, is for sure not. Is a kal v'chaymer that skila should be stricter than sayef. Skila is stricter than chenek, which is stricter than sayef. So for sure, skila is stricter than sayef.
Isn't the burning connected to idol worship? We have to burn everything from the idolaters.
No, because the punishment for the city is the sayef.
Do they get killed first, and the stuff gets burned? But then the burning of the stuff is
Affects their inheritance. It doesn't go to their.
But doesn't everybody get?
They had an inheritance from somewhere else. So now we go to the last category, chenek chamer misayef. chenek, according to Reb Shimon, is stricter than strangulation is stricter than getting killed by the sword. Because chenek is given to someone that injures his father or his mother. Why is that so strict? As we said, because honor of your father is father and mother is comparable to the honor of God. Other Abbasayv Chamer. No, this is stricter. Because the sword is given to the people that worship idols in that city. Why is that so strict? Because you see that even their property gets destroyed. For sure, that's a very harsh punishment. Amrit, say like this: who's stricter? The missionaries or the people that were influenced? Obviously, the missionaries. So Vitanya, and it was taught in a brayso. The missionaries, what did they get? The Tanakama holds, the rabbis hold skila, stoning. Shimon says chenek. So if Reb Shimon says chenek, that means that that's stricter than sayef, because everyone else, people that were influenced, get sayef, get the sword. So this is another machlekes here about the madiche, the influencers, what they get. And there's machlekes here also. What's stricter, sayef or chenek? Reb Shimon holds chenek is stricter than sayef. Rabbanan holds sayef is stricter than chenek. Okay, Margala bepuma de Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan would have this pearl in his mouth. I mean, he would make this special statement. He would say this. Nara Murasa Baskayin Shazinsa Beskila, Reb Shimon Bestrefa. A Nara Murasa, a girl that's betrothed, and she's a daughter of a Kayin, and she commits adultery. So the Tanakama holds she gets skila, Reb Shimon says she gets streifa. Okay, that's sort of the Mishnah, right? That's not the Mishnah. That's how we learned the source for the Mishnah, is we learned it from this. Now there's one other point. Zinsa meyaviha. Let's say this is incest. She has relations with her father. Now, but we're switching now. We're switching now not to from a bas going to bas Yisrael. If there's a girl, it did that without telling you that it switched. A girl that lives with her father, and she's betrothed. So the rule is that she gets the stone. Not stone. She gets burnt. She gets
betrothed not to her father.
No, she's not betrothed to her father. Betrothed outside to someone else, and she lives with her father. So there's a machlokes here what she's going to get. Now there's two problems. One problem is that she's betrothed and she should not be having relations with anyone. Right? She's a married woman. So what's the rule of someone that's betrothed, a bas Yisrael, not a bas Kohen, betrothed and has relations with someone else? According to everyone, it's skila. There's a machlekes if she would be a bas Kohen, what would be? But she's a bas Yisrael. Everyone holds skila, stoning. What's the halacha when someone has incest with the father? Streifa. Okay, so now I have two punishments to give this girl. First of all, she's betrothed. She needs to get skila. Second of all, who did she live with? Was her father. She has to get streifa. So which one do we do? Well, it's a machlokes. Since the Tanakam holds skila, because skila is stricter. Whenever you have two punishments to give, you always give the stricter one, and you assume that the other one is included, right? Reb Shimon says that you get burnt because that's stricter. Okay, so Reb Yochanan summarized the machlokes very nicely in this little statement of what the machlokes would be. Reb Shimon and the Tanakama. Mike Kamashmalan, what is he coming to tell us? The Rabbanan Nesua Yetzis the Streifa V'Leyarusa, coming to tell us that a Nesua is the only one, a married daughter, totally married, fully married, daughter of a Kohen. She's the one that gets the streifa, but not the betrothed one, according to the Rabbanan. And the Reb Shimon, and according to Reb Shimon, that both of them get streifa. That was our chart that we made here. See on the first column, is that streifa, both for the Arusa and both for the Nesua. Yeah. Time Mai. What's the reason for this? Mishum de Rabbanan skila chamura. The Rabbanan say that skila is stricter. Reb Shimon Shreifa Chamurin. Reb Shimon says Shreifa is stricter. Nafkamina, what's the difference? The mean Shin is Chayiv, Shtei Mises Bezdin, Nidam Bechamura. Because, and what the difference would be, someone that has two punishments, he's going to get the more strict one. Okay, now, we mentioned before that Reb Shimon says, whether it's in the Nesua or whether it's in Arusa, Bas Kohen is going to be Shreifa. How does he know this? My Reb Shimon. What's our, not how does Reb Shimon know this, but where do we see Reb Shimon says? The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Reb Shimon I Mishnei Klalos Nam Reb Bas Kohen. There's two rules about a Bas Kohen. Okay, now, what the Gemara, what this brisa really meant to tell us was that if there's a married woman that commits adultery, she's an Eishes Ish, it says that she gets chenek. She gets strangulation. Mois yumas hanayef hanayefes. Whenever it says mois yumas, it doesn't tell us which punishment, it means chenek. Strangulation. That's one rule. Another rule is that an arusa, if there's a girl that's betrothed and commits adultery, she gets skila. So this brisa says that there's two rules by a Bas Kohen. There's the chenek rule for a married woman, and there's the skila rule for a betrothed girl. The Gemara challenges. It says the Bas Kohen v'lei Bas Yisrael. This is talking about a Bas Kohen and not a Bas Yisrael. This is about the Bas Yisrael. Ema af Bas Kohen. Rather, you should say that originally, before we took the Bas Kohen out of the category, the Bas Kohen was included in this category. And the Torah, when it spoke about the Bas Kohen, it took the Bas Kohen out of the Nesua category, which would have been chenek, and now it's going to be streifa, burning. And it took the arusa out of the arusa, which means what would have been skila is now streifa. But that means Reb Shimon saying that both a nesua and an arusa both get now streifa. They're both taken out of their original category. Just like from chenek to streifa is stricter by the nesua, so too. Also, when it takes from streifa, from skila to streifa, streifa is stricter. This is Reb Shimon's opinion that streifa is stricter than skila. However,
this idea, then, if I could, this idea that Arusa, punishment for an Arusa is worse than a punishment for a Nesua. And the suggestion is that we learn that it's worse for an Arusa than a Nesua.
Right.
Is there a pasuk? Is this a Gezeres Akasu? What's do you recall what's the basis for that?
Embarrassment to the parents.
Because I would think if you were to ask me just straight out which is worse, I would think the Nesua is worse.
right.
Is there a pasuk?
Let me see what you quoted before.
He said that like when she's in the sewer, then it's like the parents are letting go.
I think also there might be, as a preventative measure, you need a stricter punishment to make sure that nothing happens. I don't know if that's.
So you're saying that Arusa may think
we haven't used that logic so far.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't used that logic that we have to put the stricter punishment on the things that people may be more lenient about.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we see that. We see that in like certain halachas, but that's usually rabbinic laws.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me just see if there was a. Yeah, I'm not sure what the pasuk is. I think it's it says Liznai space avia. It always mentions Liznai space avia, but by the Nara Marasa. That's Nara Marasa is the girl that's betrothed and she's committing adultery, and it mentions that she's shaming her father's house. Okay. Where are we holding? So we just did. Where's the Reb Shos of Reb Shimon? Shnei Klos Nemru. Okay, there's one point that we're holding that we need to finish over here. Okay, this is interesting. When we said that that a bas kayan gets a different punishment when she commits adultery, according to Reb Shimon, whether she's betrothed or whether she's married, it's going to be streifa. That extracting her from the category of either chenek or skila, right? She's removed because she's a bas kayan. That's only regarding her prohibition and her punishment. But if there were witnesses that testified that she's guilty, and then we find out that those witnesses were conspiring witnesses, they're Eidim Zaymamin, and they're supposed to get the same punishment that they attempted to do to her, that we don't give them that stricter punishment of a bas kohen, we give them the original punishment of the original category. So it goes like this. Zaymamin Nesue bas kohen, which is supposed to get streifa, but really goes under the category of chenek, of strangulation, because that's the original law before the bas kain was extracted from that. And and you don't give those witnesses streifa, you give them the original category, which was skila. We're going to learn later, pasuk, that it's only the girl herself that gets it, not the zaymamin and not the man. Okay, now we're going to have a brisa. And this brisa is going to need to be explained by the next block. So come on, we'll see how far we can get. Next minute and a half.
Keep going till I'm on.
Yeah, let's see. We're starting a brisa. We quote the pasuk. Bas yishkain ki seichel. You want to bring that chumash over there? The daughter of a Kohen that profanes. Now, we're looking at Leviticus 21. What pasuk? Do you know? Pasuk 9. Pasuk says, if a priest's daughter violates her sacred character through adultery, she violates the sacred character of her father, she should be burned in fire. So in Hebrew, basis kain ki seichel is nice. She violates her sacred characters. Seichel is she profanes. Chulin, right? Liz nice through adultery. Esavia hi mechalalas.
Are going to be burned?
Yeah. That's what it says, because she was a bas kohen, because she was the daughter of Shem. And... Okay. Well, yeah. So now it says like this. The brisa stops the pasuk in the middle, mid-sentence, and says, well, what do we think about it right here? Bas is going kiseichel, when she profanes. Yachal afilu chilas Shabbos. What do you mean profanes? Maybe it means she violates Shabbos. She's gonna get streifa instead of skila. Maybe that's what the Gemara is suggesting. Talmud Laimar, it says, no, 1 second. Liz nice. We're talking about adultery. Oh, okay. Okay, you didn't say that. Okay, you stopped in the middle of the sentence. So I could have thought that it's referring to violating Shabbos. So no, Shabbos, she's a regular category of skila. It's talking about the chilul shebes nusa customer there. We're talking about she profanes because of adultery. Yachal afilu pnuya. Maybe even if she's not married. Maybe there's nus, even if she's not married. A daughter of a Kohen that goes and before she's married and lives with someone else, maybe she should get this capital punishment of burning. Gemara says, no, 1 second. It says by the daughter of the Kohen, it says avia. It also says that a married girl, betrothed girl, says avia mechlalas. Malahalan znus in zikas bal. Just like over there, it's referring to znus by the betrothed girl, the regular Israelite daughter. But there's a connection to the husband. Afkan znus in zikas bal. Also, when it says znus over here, it's referring to znus, adultery, that she's married. It's not just promiscuous relations, but it's she's married. This is 1 second. How do you know to learn avia, to learn it like that? Maybe avia, it says she's profaning her father. Maybe it means that she's living with her father. And the only time that she gets the capital punishment of burning is if she has relations with her father, but not if she has relations with anyone else. The Gemara says, when it says she profanes, that would apply to living with anyone, would be profaning her father. It's not only if she lives with her father. So why does it say her father? The reason why it says his father is to make this gzeir shava, that I should be able to understand that it's talking about only when she's married or betrothed. There's a connection to the husband. That's when she's going to get this punishment, not if she's just a single girl that lives with someone else. 1 second. Over there, she's betrothed. Or maybe over here, she also has to be betrothed. Nara means that she's 12 years old, not 12 and a half. She's just 12. And Nara v'hinasua, begeres v'arusa, begeres v'hinasua, rafilu eskinim minayin. 1 second. Maybe this is very restricted. Maybe this is only 12 in Arusa, because it says Avia here and it says Avia over there. She was 12 in Arusa. So when it comes to the daughter of the Kohen, maybe we should have all those restrictions as well. How would I know that if she's fully married, the same law should apply? This is from Reb Shimon's view. And how do I know that if she's 12 and a half, the same law should apply? And how do I know if she's older, that the same law should apply? How do I know if she's even married? The same law should apply. It says the daughter of a Kayan. So we don't have all of those limitations that it would give me by doing the Gezer Shavah to Aviha, by the Bas Kohen. Aviha would give me a lot of limitations on this. But so the Bas Kohen tells me that any daughter of a Kohen is always going to, okay, Bas Mikol Makol, daughter of a Kohen, even if she's older, she's still going to get the death penalty of burning. We're on top of the when he told me that she's a daughter of a Kayan, I would assume that she's still a Kayan, that she's married to a Kayan. This is the label Yisrael. How do I know the same thing applies? That if she's married to any type of husband, the same thing would apply. Now, this is a slight problem here, but let's go through this carefully. How do I know if she's married to a Levi, that the same law is going to apply? Right? Her father's a Kohen, but she's married to. How do I know if she's married to Yisrael? How do I know if she's married to a non-Jew? No, there's no such thing as a marriage to a non-Jew. So there's she could live with a non-Jew, not she can, but it could be that she lived with a non-Jew, but that wouldn't be a marriage. And we're talking about that she needs to be married. Remember, we said zikas baal, there has to be an attachment. We just learned from Avia that it's only if there's attachment. How could there be attachment if she's a non-Jew? So there's two possibilities here. One possibility is that it was originally said a kuti, and we're following the opinion that a kuti, although is not considered Jewish, but we still would accept, we would say that the marriage is still enough of a marriage that she would be considered married, just wouldn't be allowed to marry her, wouldn't be allowed to marry him. It's against the law, but it's still considered a marriage. Or the other possibility is that it's a convert of the Knanim, which weren't allowed to convert. But nevertheless, the marriage, I'm sorry?
My Gemara says kuti.
Oh, you have a kuti. Oh, which one do you have? Which you are using it for?
The Quran, yeah.
Yeah, I'm creating all these problems because of my Gemara. So if they used yours, I didn't have this. Remember when they reprinted the Likkutei Torah, they corrected all the mistakes. So one of the older Chassidim, he said, "What's going to be with our learning? That's all we struggled with was with the mistakes, the printing mistake. How are we going to learn it now if everything's corrected?"
Those two cases, they require a get.
Yeah, that's what it would be. That's what this would mean. Or okay, so let's go on. Or a chalal, or maybe it was a someone that she wasn't allowed to marry. No, not she wasn't allowed to marry. She's allowed to marry a chalal. A chalal is someone that is not a kohen anymore, and it would make her not a kohenes, right? Or she marries a mamzer. She can't marry a mamzer. Or a nasin, she marries a nasin. Nasin was that tribe that converted and they weren't supposed to marry into the congregation. Minayin, how do we know that the same law applies? That because she's a daughter of a kohen and she committed adultery, she's going to get stoned? Well, it says the daughter of a kohen, even though she's right now not a kohenes. Yeah. But she was the daughter of a kohen, that's enough. He besreifa, she gets burned. But her what's it called? What was that? We had a fancy word.
Paramour.
What is it?
Paramour. Her lover.
Her paramour. Her paramour doesn't get streifa. He besreifa, she gets streifa. But those witnesses don't get the conspiring witnesses don't get streifa, like we mentioned before. They get the original. Rabbi Eliezer says the Gemara. We're gonna have to wait for the Gemara to do this. Esavia b'streifa v'eschamel b'streifa. Her father and her mother and her mother-in-law are Esavia b'streifa. Her father is with burning. Eschamel and her mother-in-law b'skila is with skila. Let's wait for that. We're gonna discuss that later. Yeah, we'll see in the Gemara on the bottom of the page. No, we turn the page. Okay, let's leave it over here. And her father-in-law. I'm sorry, her father and her father-in-law.
One gets burned and one gets stoned.
Yeah. Okay. Have a good Shabbos, everyone.
Thank you. Good Shabbos.
Thank you. Have a good Shabbos.